Split in, Gail Cogdill looks for a big day.
I'm interviewing Gail Cogdill, my father, about his football career.
Well, I don't know if I've ever explained that to you, Gary, but I got started in high school when running around with a bunch of my friends, and they said, you know, why don't you come out for football? So I decided to go with my friends, and my junior year I turned out at Lewis and Clark High School, and then my senior year went back and played again, and we won the state championship that year. So it was kind of fun to not only play football, but be with your friends. It was a pretty good group of guys. Well, I didn't know how to put a uniform on. Right. I remember the first time I put it on, I had some raw problems in that. Other than that, for football, I think I was, some people can pick it up real quick. I didn't have really too much of a problem. I think my only problem was the season wasn't long enough so I could play longer. Oh, I liked it because I could run. I liked running a lot. I did that a lot as a kid. Being from Wyoming, I had a coach down back there by Hank Cabry who found me jumping up and down in the back schoolyard, and he said, "Aren't you playing basketball or anything like that?" And I said, "No." And so he put me on the basketball squad, and that was the Thermopolis Bob Kittens. We won the state tournament as a junior, or as a grade school. And then I moved here to Spokane, and then I didn't turn out again until my senior year or junior year in high school. So basically that's kind of how I got started. I think winning the state championship, of course, there's a lot of them, but I think winning the state championship in high school at Lewis and Clark, when we lost every game the year before, being on the Detroit Lions and being Rookie of the Year, which is that football right there, in the NFL, and that was kind of a surprise to me, being picked for that. Being in the 62 game against Green Bay Packers in the Thanksgiving Day Massacre and catching 2 touchdowns within 30 seconds and beating Green Bay, and that's the year we should have. If we would have been lucky enough, we could have went to the Super Bowl, or not Super Bowl, championship game in that time. But anyway, there was a lot of them. I could go on and on and on. I think there's so many different categories about what is, what's the most important or most famous or the most exciting or whatever. But we could go on forever, Gary. So I think those are the ones right now that would be most important. I like the sport. I don't watch it too much during the season. I like it when it gets to the playoffs, because now we're down to teams that are more sophisticated in their play selecting, defenses, etc. The game has changed so much. When I played, I had to block a lot as a receiver. Today they don't do too much of that. They had bump and run all the way down the field when I played. Today they don't have that, so that's kind of changed. The offensive line blocking, you can hold a little bit, and back in the 60s and 70s, it was a completely different ball game when you had to put your hands up and you couldn't put your hands out. The game has changed a lot. It's a lot faster because you're on AstroTurf. We played a lot out, all of our games were outside in the grass and stuff like that. I like the football. Not all the teams play the type of game that I like, but there are a few teams that play, I call it the black and blue league, like Green Bay, Chicago, Minnesota, Detroit, Cleveland. Some of those teams like that are still, get down and dirty, which is, I kind of like that kind of stuff. I don't like the fast inside the game has changed so much that if it doesn't, it's just not like it used to be, but it's still exciting because it's given the kids opportunities to play, and I like to see their talents and stuff. That's pretty much it.
Plum sets up a 48-yard TD strike.
The pass goes to Gail Cogdill, and Detroit jumps into an early lead, 7-0.
I think that if I was to do it all over again, I would know a little bit more about football. It was not my first choice to play football. It was not my choice to do all this. It was just my friends got me into it, and then I guess I didn't know how good I was, because then I got a scholarship to Washington State, and I got to go up there and play, both offense and defense. That's what we had to do back then. And then got selected by the Lions and drafted and got back to go back to Detroit. If I was to change anything, I would like to know a little bit more about the football, so that when I was approached and asked questions at the time about pro football, which I didn't know anything about, be a little more educated on stuff like that, like they are today. You got to have an agent. I never had that, and being drafted when I didn't even know I was even drafted into the NFL until somebody knocked on my door down at Washington State and offered me a contract. So the times have changed. That's the thing I would change more, to be more educated on the system and where I was going, and having a little more voice in different things that I wouldn't make a decision on, what somebody else always made for me. So no, I think I wouldn't change too much of it. It was exciting. I was an entertainer, and I've been rewarded for it. I think we calculated not too long ago, just football alone, running, from 2 years of high school, 4 years of college, and 11 years in the NFL. I think it was like 18,000 miles just running sprints. So if I added it all up from the time that I was a little kid running all over, I probably ran around the world once and a half or something like that, 26,000 plus miles, which was amazing when we started figuring it all out and calculating everything. Yeah, I can do some math, Gary.
Thank you, and that's all my questions.
Well, thank you for entertaining me.
Carl ignores Ordell Brace's crashing charge as he passes for Gail Cogdill. Cogdill makes a fine catch, and the Lions are on the board, but the Colts lead 17-7.
All right, tell us about this picture.
Well, Gary, I don't think I've ever got into too many conversations, but anyway, the picture that I've got my hand pointed to, this one here, is the helmet that I wore. It's a Rydell helmet. The history of that helmet and the person who wore that, which is me, if you go on www.helmethut.com, you will see where the people who own that helmet, they show where I've signed the inside of it on the straps and my number, and talks about Rydell, etc., and the paint jobs that was done on it, etc. My daughter and her husband called Helmet Hut, and they wanted to buy that helmet, and they said they didn't have enough money to buy it. So I guess we'll never get it back. I don't know how they got it, but they have it. Helmet Hut has that. The football right here in the middle, Gary, of course you know what that is. That's the NFL Rookie of the Year Award, 1960. And that was an award I got, which is I'm real, proud to have that. And then the picture over here, far over here, is a picture taken just before the 1962 Thanksgiving Day Massacre against Green Bay when we beat them. And I have a few of those pictures and stuff. We have a lot of memorabilia, of course, you know that. And a lot of times I have a lot of them made up, and I sign them for kids and stuff like that. So it's a nice picture.
Earl Morrow races up the middle on a quarterback draw play. Earl loses the ball, and it bounces into the end zone. But Gail Cogdill captures the pigskin for a Detroit touchdown and a 17-3 advantage. As the second period begins, Plum pairs with Cogdill on a slant end pattern, and the ex-Washington Stater busts through the Browns for 30 yards. Split in, Gail Cogdill looks for a big day.